The galaxy was calm when the first alien scouts crossed into Terran space. 4 years, humans had been quiet. No expansion, no wars, no communication with the wider stars. To most empires, Earth was nothing but a forgotten blue world on the edge of the spiral arm. Some races even joked that humans had gone extinct, too weak to survive in a galaxy filled with predators. But then came the warning. A strange beacon floated at the edge of Terran borders. It carried a single message written in every known alien language. The message was short, almost too simple to take seriously. Invade Terran space at your own risk. At first, the galaxy laughed. Many believed humans had built the beacon as a desperate trick, hoping to scare others with empty threats. One minor empire decided to test the warning. They gathered a fleet of scout ships, lightly armed but fast. The commanders were arrogant, certain that the humans were bluffing. After all, no human ship had been seen in decades. If Earth was strong, why had they stayed silent? Why had they hidden from the galaxy? The fleet crossed the invisible line where Terran space began. At first, nothing happened. The alien commanders laughed at the thought of a deadly promise. Their ships moved deeper, scanning empty space. They saw no human warships, no defense stations, not even a patrol craft. Reports came back saying Terran space was empty, unguarded, and weak. The aliens mocked the beacon, calling it the most pathetic warning in history. But then, something changed. Only 30 minutes after entry, the first scout ship stopped transmitting. No damage reports, no emergency signals, just silence. The other ships searched for it, but the vessel had vanished completely. Sensors found no wreckage, no explosion, nothing at all. It was as if the ship had been erased from existence. The commanders grew uneasy but ordered the fleet to continue. An hour later, 2 more ships disappeared. Again, no signals, no signs of battle. The aliens began to argue. Some wanted to retreat, others demanded they push forward. Their pride would not allow them to turn back so soon. The fleet advanced, but fear spread among the crew. Every shadow in space seemed dangerous, every sensor reading felt like a trap. Then, within one night cycle, half the fleet was gone. Ship after ship simply vanished, swallowed by the silent dark. Panic broke out. Captains screamed over the comms, begging for orders, but no one had answers. The fleet leader finally gave the retreat command. The surviving ships tried to escape, engines burning hot, but it was already too late. As they fled, the last transmissions reached the homeworld of the Empire. The voices were filled with terror. "They are here. They are watching us." One pilot cried before his ship went dark. Another shouted, "We never saw them coming." And then silence. All contact was lost. The entire fleet was gone. Not a single ship returned. The alien empire was shaken. They had sent scouts full of pride and arrogance, and none came back. There were no survivors, no wrecks to study, nothing to prove what had happened. The fleet had been erased like dust blown into the wind. Whispers spread across the stars. Traders carried rumors of the vanished fleet. Spies whispered in shadows about human traps and secret weapons. Some said Earth had built invisible war machines that struck without warning. Others believed humans had developed technology beyond reason, weapons that left no trace behind. No one knew the truth. The only fact was clear: Terran space had swallowed the invaders whole. The Galactic Council called an emergency discussion. Leaders of many empires gathered, their voices filled with fear and anger. Some claimed the humans were bluffing and had simply hidden the alien fleet. Others argued that no one could hide so many ships. If humans had destroyed them, it meant Earth had grown powerful in secret. The question burned in every mind: why had humans warned the galaxy instead of attacking first? Were they protecting themselves, or were they waiting for something bigger? The mystery grew heavier with each passing day. The empire that had sent the scouts tried to stay silent, embarrassed by their loss. But the galaxy did not forget. Every species remembered the warning beacon's message. Invade Terran space at your own risk. It no longer sounded like an empty threat. It sounded like a deadly promise. Still, many could not believe it. Some laughed at the fear spreading across the stars, calling it superstition. Others whispered that humans had awakened something terrible in their silence. But no one could explain the truth. What force could erase an entire fleet without leaving a single trace? Only Earth knew. And Earth said nothing. The galaxy did not forget the first fleet that vanished. Whispers spread from one star system to another like fire in dry fields. Traders told the story in every port, smugglers whispered it in the darkest corners, and even children of distant empires heard about the warning. The words of the Terran beacon were now repeated in fear. Invade Terran space at your own risk. But in the halls of power, many leaders still refused to believe. They said it was a trick. They said the fleet had run away, or maybe they had been destroyed by some natural hazard. Pride and arrogance blinded them. One empire in particular, the Zorith Dominion, mocked the story. They were a powerful race with hundreds of systems under their rule. Their fleets were strong, their armies countless, and their technology feared. The Zorith Emperor laughed at the idea that humans had done anything at all. "We will expose this lie," he declared. "We will enter Terran space, and we will show the galaxy that Earth is weak." The Council warned them, but the Zorith did not listen. They assembled a fleet of 200 warships, heavily armed and fully supplied. Their admirals promised victory and even boasted that they would bring back prisoners from Earth to display as trophies. The galaxy watched as the great Zorith fleet crossed into Terran space. It was broadcast across systems, every empire curious to see what would happen. At first, everything seemed calm. The Zorith ships reported clear skies, empty stars, and no human presence. The admirals laughed in front of the cameras, calling the warning beacon nothing but human lies. But then, only minutes after entering deeper into Terran borders, the first ship stopped responding. The admirals brushed it off, claiming it was a technical fault. Then a second ship vanished. Then a third. The commanders grew uneasy. Their voices on the broadcasts sounded less proud, more tense. "We are searching," they said, but everyone watching could see fear beginning to rise. Suddenly, without warning, 20 ships vanished in the span of a single hour. Entire squadrons disappeared from radar. There were no explosions, no debris, no escape pods. The stars remained silent, as if nothing had ever been there. Panic spread through the fleet. Some ships tried to retreat, but retreat was useless. The moment they turned around, they too went silent. Admirals shouted orders, but the comms were filled with screams of terror. "They are inside the dark," one captain cried before his signal cut out. Another shouted, "Invisible fire. We cannot see them," before silence swallowed him. Billions across the galaxy watched as the broadcast began to break apart. Cameras flickered with static. The last image shown was of a battleship shaking violently before vanishing into nothing. Then, the broadcast ended. The galaxy stared in horror. The entire Zorith fleet, 200 strong, had disappeared without a trace. Not a single survivor returned. Once again, Terran space had swallowed invaders whole. The Zorith Dominion was humiliated. Their emperor had promised victory, but now he sat in silence, his people demanding answers he could not give. Some accused him of lying, others whispered that he had angered powers far beyond his understanding. The Galactic Council was shaken. 2 fleets, gone without a single survivor. The words of the Terran beacon no longer felt like a bluff. They felt like a death sentence. But the worst part was that no one knew what had destroyed the fleets. Some scientists claimed humans had built cloaked war machines, invisible to every sensor. Others believed humans had mastered weapons that could erase matter itself. The more fearful whispered that humans had awakened something older, something buried deep inside Terran space that devoured anything that entered. The mystery was darker than war, because it left no evidence. Fear grew with every passing day. The galaxy's great powers began to argue. Some demanded war against Earth before it became unstoppable. Others begged for caution, warning that a third lost fleet could spark chaos across the stars. But in the shadows of every debate, one truth remained. 2 fleets had entered Terran space. None had returned. And Earth still said nothing. No speeches, no threats, no explanation. Only silence. The silence was worse than words. It made the galaxy imagine things far worse than reality. Perhaps that was Earth's true weapon, the fear of the unknown. Across distant systems, soldiers whispered about Terran shadows. Admirals hesitated to move their fleets. Merchants changed their routes to avoid even the edges of human borders. And in the deepest corners of space, the story of Earth's deadly promise grew like a living ghost. Everyone knew now. The warning was real. The galaxy was restless after the second fleet vanished. Traders refused to cross Terran borders, smugglers avoided the routes near human space, and even pirates whispered that the silence of Earth was too dangerous to test. 2 fleets had gone in, and not a single ship had come back. No wreckage, no escape pods, not even a distress call. It was as if Terran space had swallowed them whole. Still, not every empire believed the stories. Some leaders claimed the fleets had been destroyed by secret Zorith traps, others said the humans had bribed pirates to stage the disappearances. But whispers in the darker corners of space told another story. Spies from different races reported strange sightings near Terran borders. Ships cloaked in shadows. Massive shapes drifting in the void. Machines that looked like warships but moved like predators. The Council dismissed these reports as myths, yet the rumors would not stop. Finally, a group of alien spies was sent to watch Terran space more closely. They were careful, staying just outside the invisible border where the warning beacon floated. For days they saw nothing. The stars were silent, the black sky empty. But on the 4th day, one spy ship picked up something unusual. A shadow larger than a city was moving in the darkness. The crew turned their scopes and magnifiers to focus on it, and what they saw froze their blood. A warship, enormous in size, was drifting slowly like a sleeping beast. Its hull was black, so dark that it blended with space itself. No lights, no signals, no engines running. Yet the ship was there, silent and waiting. The spies could not believe their eyes. It was unlike any vessel they had ever seen. It carried no markings, no emblems, nothing to identify it as human, yet the design was clear: this was Terran. The ship looked alive, as if the metal itself was breathing. The spies recorded everything. They whispered among themselves that this was the secret of Terra. Maybe these were the weapons that had destroyed the fleets. Maybe hundreds of such ships were hidden in the dark, waiting for intruders. The crew argued about what to do. Some wanted to return immediately and report, others demanded they stay longer to learn more. Greed pushed them forward. If they returned with proof of these ships, their empires would reward them with power and glory. But their courage lasted only one more night. On the next watch they saw movement. The giant ship that had been drifting began to turn. Slowly, with the weight of something ancient and unstoppable, its black hull rotated until its nose pointed directly at them. The spies panicked. They tried to pull back, engines roaring, but it was too late. The Terran ship did not fire weapons. It did not move quickly. It simply stared at them, silent and cold. Then, one by one, the spy ships lost power. Their systems went dark, their lights died, their controls froze. The crews screamed in terror as their ships were dragged silently toward the black warship. No beams, no explosions, no blasts, just a pull, like gravity itself obeyed the Terrans. One ship managed to restart its engines and escape. Its crew fled without looking back. When they finally reached their homeworld, they brought with them recordings of the shadow ship. The footage was blurry, filled with static, but it was enough. The galaxy now had proof that something terrible waited in Terran space. The recordings showed a glimpse of the ship's size. It was larger than any dreadnought known, larger even than some orbital stations. Its surface seemed to shift like liquid metal, and its silence was more terrifying than the weapons of any empire. Rumors exploded like wildfire. Some said Earth had built war machines beyond reason, capable of hiding in plain sight. Others believed the ships were alive, fusing human technology with something darker. A few whispered that humans had discovered ancient weapons left by gods, and now they commanded them in silence. No one knew the truth, and that made the fear worse. The Galactic Council called another emergency session. Voices clashed in anger and fear. Some demanded immediate war to destroy humans before their shadow ships multiplied. Others shouted that war would be suicide, that the galaxy must avoid Terran borders at all cost. In the middle of the chaos, one question echoed louder than all others. If these ships were the secret of Terra, why had humans stayed silent for so long? Why had they built such power and never used it? The silence of Earth was no longer just strange. It was terrifying. Every empire began to rethink their borders, their fleets, their future. Because now the galaxy knew something for certain. Terran space was not empty. Terran space was guarded by shadows. And those shadows never spoke, never warned, never showed mercy. They only waited for the next fleet to enter. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from hundreds of empires gathered, their voices echoing through the vast hall built at the heart of the capital world. Fear hung heavy in the air, and even the most powerful species looked uneasy. 2 fleets had vanished, and now spy recordings showed enormous black warships drifting inside Terran space. The evidence was undeniable. Something was hiding there, and it belonged to humanity. The debate began in chaos. One faction shouted for immediate war. Their voices thundered through the chamber. Humans are weak, one emperor declared. Their silence is a trick to frighten us. We must strike now, before they strike first. Others shouted back, demanding caution. A reptilian ambassador hissed, "You fools have not seen what we have seen. Their ships are larger than anything in our arsenals. If we attack, we will be destroyed just as the fleets were." The chamber filled with noise as hundreds of voices clashed. Some demanded a united invasion, while others begged to close all routes near Terran borders. Fear battled with pride, and no one was willing to admit weakness. In the shadows of the chamber, a few older species stayed quiet. They had seen too much in their long lives. They remembered when humans first stepped into the stars. Back then, humans had been curious, restless, eager to trade and learn. But then, after centuries, they withdrew. They stopped attending council meetings. They stopped sending envoys. They turned inward and built their borders high and strong. Now, after decades of silence, they had returned only with a warning. The older races remembered something else as well. In the old wars, humans had shown a terrifying trait. They did not surrender. They fought with desperation, with fire in their hearts, as if every battle was the last. The older species had learned long ago never to corner humanity. And now it seemed the rest of the galaxy was beginning to understand why. The council speaker, an ancient creature with skin like glass, slammed its staff against the floor to quiet the chamber. "Enough!" it roared. "We are here to decide how to deal with Terra, not to shout like children." The hall calmed, though whispers still lingered. The speaker continued. "2 fleets are gone. You have seen the recordings. You know what waits inside their borders. We must face the truth. Earth is no longer weak." A silence followed those words, heavy and sharp. Then a voice broke it. A powerful warlord from the core worlds rose to his feet. "If we leave them alone, they will only grow stronger," he said coldly. "Their ships will multiply. Their weapons will spread. One day they will march out of their borders, and by then it will be too late to stop them." Many leaders nodded in agreement. Fear twisted into anger. They could not stand the idea of humans growing powerful while they did nothing. But then another voice rose, calm but firm. It was the ambassador of a smaller, cautious race. "And what if we attack, as you suggest? What if we send our fleets into Terran space? Do you not remember what happened to the last 2 fleets? Do you want the galaxy to burn? Because that is what will happen. We will throw away ships, soldiers, lives, and humans will still remain. The chamber split in 2. One half cried for war, the other begged for peace. Some shouted that humans must be forced to reveal their secrets, others whispered that perhaps it was best never to know. But through it all, one thing was clear. The galaxy was afraid. Pride made some leaders reckless, but deep in their hearts, even they feared the unknown power of Terra. In the end, no decision was made. The council argued until their voices cracked, but nothing was agreed upon. The chamber broke apart in anger and whispers, each empire retreating to its own thoughts. Some left planning invasion. Others left planning retreat. But none left with peace in their hearts. Outside the council chamber, the galaxy buzzed with rumors. Traders swore that humans had fleets larger than moons. Smugglers claimed to have seen human weapons that could shatter stars. Some believed the Terrans had allied with ancient powers, while others believed they had created something far worse on their own. The truth was unknown, and that made it terrifying. Far away, on the edge of Terran space, the warning beacon still floated. Its message was as clear as ever. Invade Terran space at your own risk. For the galaxy, the debate was not over. It was only beginning. The galaxy trembled when the Zorith Dominion announced their plan. After weeks of debate, pride had won over fear. The Dominion declared that it would lead the galaxy in crushing humanity. To prove that Terran warnings were empty lies, they would send the largest armada ever built into human space. 1,000 warships, armed with the most advanced weapons of the age, gathered at the edge of Terran borders. Battleships, carriers, dreadnoughts, and cruisers filled the void like a metal storm. Their engines glowed with fire, their cannons ready for war. The Zorith Emperor spoke to the galaxy before the invasion began. His voice was strong, filled with arrogance. The age of human lies is over. We will burn their borders, take their worlds, and show the galaxy that no warning can stand against true power. His words echoed across countless systems, broadcast for all to hear. Billions of eyes turned toward Terran space, waiting for the show of strength. At first, it seemed like victory was certain. The armada crossed into Terran borders without resistance. No enemy ships appeared, no defenses activated, no humans came to stop them. Admirals laughed and spoke proudly over the live broadcast. Where are your ghosts now, humans? Where are your shadows? 4 hours, nothing happened. The fleet advanced deeper, confidence growing. Then the stars changed. Without warning, the sky behind the fleet shimmered as if the void itself was alive. Darkness twisted, and shapes began to form. Massive shadows emerged, silent and terrifying. At first they looked like drifting asteroids, but then the stars vanished behind their hulls. Black warships, vast and endless, surrounded the Zorith fleet. They did not send warnings. They did not send signals. They simply stared in silence. The admirals shouted orders, and the fleet opened fire. Thousands of cannons roared, beams of plasma lit the darkness, missiles streaked into the void. But nothing struck the shadows. Every shot disappeared as if swallowed by space itself. Then came the response. The Terran ships did not fire beams or missiles. Instead, the stars seemed to crack. Invisible forces struck like lightning, tearing Zorith warships apart without sound. One dreadnought vanished in an instant, its hull folding inward as if crushed by an unseen hand. Another battleship shattered into dust without even an explosion. Panic spread through the fleet. Crews screamed over comms, begging for escape, but the admirals tried to hold formation. "Fight! Fight!" they shouted, but it was hopeless. Every attempt to resist ended in silence. The broadcast, still running live across the galaxy, showed ships dying one by one. The camera feeds shook with terror. Viewers saw a carrier vanish in a single blink, its massive frame erased from existence. They heard the desperate screams of soldiers begging for mercy. They watched as the proud Zorith admiral cried out, "They are everywhere! We cannot see them!" before his signal cut off forever. For 10 minutes the slaughter continued. 1,000 ships had entered Terran space. In less than an hour, most were gone. The last images shown to the galaxy were haunting. A single Zorith cruiser trying to flee at maximum speed, its engines burning white-hot. Behind it, a black Terran warship drifted silently, no weapons visible. The cruiser screamed across the comms, "They do not chase. They do not fire. They only wait. We are," and then the screen went black. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, silence fell. No one moved, no one spoke. Billions had just watched the most powerful fleet ever assembled vanish without a fight. No wreckage, no survivors, no escape. The Zorith Dominion was broken. Their emperor disappeared from public view, ashamed and terrified. Their worlds wept for their lost soldiers, but no one dared to send another fleet. The galaxy now understood the truth. The Terran warning was not a bluff. It was law. Enter their space, and you will not return. The council met again, but this time there was no shouting. Only fear filled the chamber. Some leaders whispered about surrendering to Earth before it was too late. Others begged to cut all ties with Terran space and never speak of them again. But all knew one thing: the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had shown its power without speaking a single word. The Terran promise was now carved into the minds of every living being. Invade their space, and face doom. And still, Earth remained silent. The galaxy was silent after the destruction of the Great Armada. No one wanted to speak about what they had seen, yet every being remembered the horror. 1,000 ships had entered Terran space, and in less than an hour they were gone. The images of silent black warships, the desperate screams of admirals, the sudden darkness cutting broadcasts short, these memories haunted billions. For the first time, fear of humans united the galaxy. Empires that had once laughed at Earth now avoided even whispering its name. Trade routes bent around their borders. Maps were redrawn to leave their space untouched. Yet silence could not last forever. The galaxy demanded answers. Whispers grew into questions, and questions grew into fear. Why had the humans not spoken? Why had they not demanded tribute or surrender? Why had they only warned, then destroyed? The council met again, this time in secret, with only the most powerful empires invited. They debated for days, their voices low and uncertain. Some suggested sending envoys, others argued it was suicide. But in the end, the galaxy received an answer it did not expect. For the first time in centuries, a human signal spread across the stars. The message was simple, carried in every language known. We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. But if you cross into our borders, you will not return. This is our promise. The words were calm, quiet, and yet they were more terrifying than any threat. The galaxy froze. Empires waited for more, demands for tribute, for territory, for submission, but no more words came. Only silence. Humanity had spoken, and then withdrawn once again into the dark. The council tried to understand. Some argued the message was proof that humans were peaceful, that they only wished to defend their homes. But others saw the silence as arrogance, a sign of overwhelming power. If they wished, one ambassador whispered, they could have demanded we kneel. Instead, they said nothing. Do you know what that means? It means they do not fear us at all. The thought spread like poison. Fear turned into paranoia. Empires looked at their fleets, their weapons, and wondered if they meant nothing in the face of Terran power. Across the stars, ordinary people reacted in different ways. Some cheered the humans, calling them guardians of their own freedom, warriors who would not be pushed around. Others whispered in terror, telling their children never to speak of Earth, never even to look toward Terran space. A few even began to worship humanity as if they were gods, powerful and silent, enforcing a rule of death without lifting a hand. Yet on Earth itself, life was calm. Reports from spies spoke of cities glowing under blue skies, of humans living ordinary lives, as if the galaxy beyond did not exist. Factories worked, ships patrolled their own borders, and the people of Terra did not boast or brag. They acted as though their deadly warning was nothing more than truth. But the rest of the galaxy could not relax. They remembered the message. We do not seek war. But if you cross our border, you will not return. Some leaders tried to test it again, sending tiny scout ships, cloaked and hidden. None came back. Others tried to communicate directly, sending signals of peace. They received no reply. Earth was silent once more, silent but watching. The mystery became unbearable. Were the humans truly at peace, or were they preparing for something greater? Why did they remain hidden, showing only glimpses of their shadow warships? And if they were so powerful, why had they not expanded, not taken what they could easily claim? These questions circled through every council, every war room, every gathering of leaders. The galaxy had no answers. Only fear. In secret, some empires began preparing new fleets. They told their people it was for defense, but in their hearts they dreamed of revenge. Others pulled back their forces, retreating from Terran borders and leaving wide, empty zones of space no one dared to cross. But in every system, no matter how far, everyone remembered the words. Calm words, spoken once, then swallowed by silence. Earth had finally spoken, and their promise was deadly. The galaxy had fallen quiet, but pride still burned in the hearts of some empires. They could not accept that humans, once seen as weak, now frightened every star. For centuries, the Veil Dominion had claimed to be the oldest, strongest, and most advanced empire in the galaxy. Their history stretched back thousands of years, their fleets unmatched, their technology feared. While others trembled, the Veil laughed at the warnings. They refused to believe that humans could create such terror. Myths, their High Chancellor declared. Stories told by cowards. Shadows in the dark do not defeat empires. We will show the galaxy the truth. The Veil Dominion prepared a single dreadnought for the mission. It was no ordinary ship. It was the jewel of their empire, the most advanced vessel ever built. Larger than cities, armed with weapons that could melt planets, shielded by technology unknown to others, the dreadnought was considered unstoppable. The Chancellor himself promised victory. We will enter Terran space, he said, and drag the humans into the light. We will show the galaxy what hides behind their silence. The dreadnought crossed the border alone, its image broadcast secretly by spies to the rest of the galaxy. Billions watched, holding their breath. For a time, nothing happened. The great ship moved deeper and deeper into Terran space, its sensors scanning every corner. No fleets appeared, no shadows drifted, no resistance came. The Veil commanders mocked the silence. Is this your great threat, humans? Empty space and silence. But then, the ship's sensors detected something strange. The stars themselves seemed wrong. Planets appeared where none should exist. Whole worlds were drifting through the void without suns, barren and dark. The dreadnought drew closer, and its crew realized with horror that these were not ordinary planets. They were weapons. Entire worlds had been turned into fortresses. Mountains were carved into cannons. Oceans were gone, replaced with glowing energy cores. Whole planets were alive with machinery. The Veil crew could not believe their eyes. This is impossible, one whispered. No empire can do this. Yet there it was. Dozens of weapon planets forming a silent wall in the darkness. The dreadnought's commander ordered caution, but pride was stronger than fear. The great ship fired its main cannon at one of the planets. A beam of pure energy shot across space, powerful enough to break moons. It struck the planet's surface, shaking mountains and tearing land apart. For a moment, it seemed like a victory. But then the planet answered. Its surface opened like a burning eye. From deep within, a single blast of light erupted. It was not just a weapon. It was a sun, born in an instant. The beam struck the dreadnought with force beyond comprehension. Shields collapsed. Armor melted. The ship that had been called unstoppable was torn apart in seconds, its remains scattered into dust. Across the galaxy, spies watching the broadcast trembled. The Veil dreadnought was gone, erased as easily as the others. But worse than the destruction was what they now understood. Humanity had not only built warships. They had turned entire planets into weapons. The galaxy had feared shadow fleets, but the truth was far more terrifying. Terra itself was a trap. Every world, every star near their borders could be something more than it appeared. The Veil Dominion tried to silence the news, but it was too late. The images of the weapon planets spread faster than fire. Billions saw them. Billions now understood the meaning of the human warning. Invade Terran space at your own risk. It was not just words. It was the truth carved into entire worlds. Fear turned to despair. If humans had this power, then no empire was safe. No fleet could stand against them. The galaxy's balance of power shattered in a single moment. Some empires surrendered to fear, vowing never to cross Terran borders again. Others whispered that humanity was no longer a race, but a force of nature. But for the Veil Dominion, the lesson was carved in ash. Their pride had led them into the dark, and the dark had swallowed them whole. The galaxy was broken. Once proud empires whispered in silence, afraid to speak of the humans. The destruction of the Veil Dominion's dreadnought had spread like fire, and no one could deny the truth anymore. Humanity was not just a threat. Humanity was a wall of iron and fire, a force that no empire could ever cross. But the galaxy still waited for an answer to the oldest question. Why? Why had humans turned their space into a fortress? Why had they warned so strongly, invade Terran space at your own risk? The truth came slowly, in fragments, through rumors and secret transmissions. Long ago, before many empires even rose, humans had been hunted. Young and weak, they had faced slavery and destruction. Again and again, alien conquerors had come, and again, humans had survived. They never forgot. Every invasion, every attack, every betrayal had carved itself into their memory. They built their future not on trust, but on preparation. To them, peace was fragile, and safety only came through strength. That was their deadly promise. It was not arrogance, not conquest, but survival made eternal. Their message to the galaxy was clear: leave us in peace, and peace will remain. Cross our borders, and you will never return. After the fall of the Veil dreadnought, no empire dared to test them again. Spies and scouts who drifted near Terran borders vanished without a trace. Fleets sent to observe simply never reported back. The silence of Terran space became a living shadow, an invisible wall that none dared approach. Across the galaxy, leaders of empires gathered in secret councils. Some wanted to unite against humanity, but their voices were weak and trembling. We cannot face them, others argued. They have weapons beyond our imagination. They turn planets into fire. To fight them is suicide. And so, fear ruled. Humanity did not send fleets to conquer, nor armies to invade. They did not need to. Their borders themselves were the strongest empire in the galaxy. Slowly, legends began to grow. Traders whispered that they had seen human ships vanish into black holes and return unharmed. Miners claimed they saw Terran shadows moving through the stars, watching but never striking. Children of distant worlds grew up hearing one story again and again: never ever enter Terran space. One empire tried to test the warning again. A minor power, desperate for resources, believing the legends to be lies. They sent a small fleet of 10 warships across the border. No one saw them again. Weeks later, strange objects appeared outside their homeworld. Fragments of metal, burned and twisted. When scanned, the fragments were revealed to be the remains of their own ships. No words came from humanity, only silence. That silence was louder than any battle. It was the silence of a predator that did not need to roar. The galaxy understood. Humanity's promise was eternal, carved in the stars themselves. Time passed, and the galaxy changed. Empires rose and fell, wars raged and ended, but none ever dared to test Terran space again. The humans watched, silent and unseen, while the galaxy tore itself apart. And yet, whenever a fleet drifted too close to the border, the same message would echo across their systems. 4 words, older than any empire's history. Do not enter here. It was never explained, never negotiated. It was law, as strong as the laws of physics. Some scholars whispered that humanity had become something more than mortal, something greater than empires. They were guardians of their own space, bound by their deadly promise. And if that promise was broken, the galaxy itself would burn. In the end, humanity did not need to fight. Their strength lay not only in weapons, but in the fear they inspired. Fear so strong that entire civilizations built their futures around avoiding a single border. Humanity had no empire, no throne, no council in the galaxy. They had something far more powerful: silence, memory, and the deadliest promise ever made. Invade Terran space at your own risk. It was not a warning anymore. It was destiny.